Okay, so I want to take a look at the Bergen, or Bergen, however it's pronounced, or however you pronounce it. Bergen, I'd call it, as in Bergen in Norway. Are they something to do with Bergen in Norway? Or is it, somebody said something about a US company, tool company called Bergen? I don't really know. I've heard of some people going on about the Bergen tool factory. So whether that is in Norway or not, I don't have a clue. But now they have been around for a while. Actually, I've heard some people say that they've worked as maintenance engineers, and all the stuff was provided for them, even though they had their own stuff as well. A lot of the stuff, you know, will be provided for them through the company themselves, and a lot of their sockets were Bergen sockets, and they were quite impressed with them, owning obviously more expensive brands, or you know, the usual high quality brands what they already own. They used the Bergen ones that the company had bought for them to use, and they used, you know, they said that they were really quite good. Now I've bought, these are the 1/4 inch deep sockets or long sockets. I was in the market for some brittle Hallmark, or maybe even some more brittle Expert or something like that. The Draper Expert ones, you know, they didn't seem to be, you know, good when it comes to the metric ones. These are obviously the imperial, or do you call them standard in the States? The standard ones, they come on a rail, and so the imperial or standard ones, they come on a rail. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 pieces. Don't know if I can read. Will it have it on the back? Because they're all, you know, covered up by the, don't want to end up spending ages pulling them off. So if we can zoom in, can we zoom in? Oh, yeah, we haven't got the macro one. So we'll switch that off and just put the macro on. Okay, so we're now back with the macro mode on. We can zoom in out of there. So we got 532, 3/16, 732, 1/4 inch, 932, 5/16, 1132, 3/8, 7/16, 1532 and 1/2 inch. On that rail, they are 6-point chrome vanadium, and obviously they're, like we just said, they're 1/4 inch drive. So take a look at those. They are quite thick, actually. Is it the broaching you call it? We'll get a good zoom on that. There we go. The broaching seems okay. I'm not going to get too into detail with that. You know, the measurements and all that kind of thing that some of you do. But the wall itself does seem quite thick on these bigger ones. It does seem to be rounded. If you look right at the back of the deep socket there, it does seem to turn into cylindrical deep part there, which isn't quite as deep as the which isn't quite as wide as the hex that's been cut into it there, or forged into it. It's the same on all of them there. So it will go further back, but you know, it's the it's not a hex. It's not a hex all the way back to the bottom. There is if you can see halfway down, there's an indent there. The smaller ones, obviously, I kind of trimmed it down on the ends, narrowed down. You know, a lot of them will remain the same thickness all the way to the end, and the size will just be small. You know, it will just be smaller all the way down to the end. Again, it looks like it rounds at down there. Again, yeah, there's like a round. It's like the rounding part starts a lot shallower there. It doesn't go with the smaller ones all the way back. But then again, they're not expecting a smaller nut to have too long a threaded shaft sticking out, I suppose. So if we can get one off, if we take one of the again, this is awkward one-handed. Can we get it? Can we get it? There we go. Get it in our draper thing all right enough. Quite firmly. We'll take a look in the back end. You can see a little indent in there for each one. Now there is a knurl on there. It's a slight light knurl. It doesn't, you know, it isn't. The grip isn't on it. Isn't that great? It's you know, it's just. But it is. There is a knurl on there. Again, you can see the Bergen logo itself is on there. So obviously the light there is glaring off, so you can't quite see it. You've obviously got the size and the chrome vanadium and the size stamped on there of the socket. The rails itself, it seems okay. It's a 1/4 inch, like I say, you're not getting the rail with the metric ones for some reason. I don't know why that is. Maybe because they like to stick a lot of metric sockets in there more than most. That's the reason why I picked these over the draper ones, to be honest. Leave it there for the minute because it's a pain. We take a look at the metric set. Again, they're going to be made of the same materials, the same makeup. Again, these are 6-point. You can get 12-point, but Bergen do 12-point as well. Obviously, I prefer 6-point over 12-point because of rounding things off. You probably will need 12-point as well, so I'll have to probably pick up some 12-point sockets of some description at some point or another. Whether they're another set of Bergen or not, I don't know. Now, like I say, I thought I'd try Bergen because 1/4 inch sockets, they don't really tend to to need a great deal of torque when you're talking up a 1/4 inch sized. You know, now the bigger ones are the same kind of sizes that you'll see in 3/8 and at the lower range of the 1/2 inch size sockets anyway. So that's probably why some long sets only go up to about there, like the Draper ones. You know, you only have about that many pieces in them. Whereas this, you know, for the money there was a full range. So I thought, well, we'll try Bergen and we'll have a look at what they've got to offer quality wise at the same time. Again, the wall seems quite thick on these sockets. You've got the same kind of thing on the metric printed, the Bergen and the knurling, ground vanadium, and the actual size. So 14mm. So this goes from 14mm. Well, it starts at 4mm, and you got a 4.5 and a 5.5 in there between the 5mm, and it goes all the way up from the 4mm to the 14mm, including the 12 and the 13. So you got a full range there. That was another attractive proposition from the Bergen sockets, that you get a nice full range to go alongside your standard type sockets, which are the Draper Expert ones I picked up. And exactly, I've got a long version of the same size, in other words, where a lot of the others were just you know, like 3 or 4, 5 pieces, and then they'd expect you to make that up by buying their 3/8 drive long set, which would probably start from, you know, where the 1/4 inch left off, with another 3 or 4 pieces, and then they'd expect you to buy their 1/2 inch deep drive set, which would start, you know, from there up, and probably another 2 or 3 that aren't included here in that, and anything else you'd have to buy separately. So this was kind of a good deal. Like I say, I was going to buy the brittle hallmark. I didn't see any appear, and then after I bought the Bergen ones, lo and behold, some more brittle hallmark ones appeared when looking online for around 24 quid. So the thing about 1/4 inch drives, because they are 1/4 inch, they're cheaper than 3/8. Well, they can be a similar price actually to 3/8, but they're a lot cheaper than anything that's 1/2 inch. So you can generally buy real expensive, high quality 1/4 inch things for, you know, the kind of mid-range money you'd be paying for the in mid-range 1/2 inch. So you know, there's no point not to splash the boat out when it comes to 1/4 inch. However, like I say, the range can't be beaten for the price with these the Bergen sockets. I think they were about 11. Were they about 11.99, something like that, for the deep 1/4 inch metric sockets, and I think, was it about £7.89 or something like that for the imperial ones on the rack. So I bought them at the same time, imperial and metric. You know, that's quite a good buy. The packaging itself, it's got like a cardboard straightener in the pack. Obviously it comes wrapped with like a stretch wrap, clear stretch wrap, but you can take that off, and it's kind of you know, they call it like a vacuum form plastic moulded thing, but you can actually stick that in your toolbox like that, and you can even put that back over really, and it's all you know, it's all in line. You've got your the correct size is what you want at the fingertips, instead of it all being chucked and jumbled in. It isn't on the rail, but so if you got the rail with this one, this can be put onto the wall if you've got a wall, obviously. But as well as, you know, again, in your toolbox you can just leave it on the rail and they're all just in order. You know, you can just pick up whichever socket. Again, they're fairly thick even when you come down down the sizes. This one's the 8mm, because it's yeah, it's the 8mm. If we go right now, take a look at the smallest one, which is the 4, wasn't it? You can see, obviously, it's chamfered in there. It's a lot smaller. Yeah, well, you're never putting as much torque on a 1/4 inch, or the majority of the 1/4 inch sockets with the fixings, as you do with 1/2 inch and a lot of the bigger 3/8 inch sizes. So I thought that's no disrespect to Bergen, but I just thought, you know, if it was going to risk another company just to try out, then 1/4 inch would be the size for that, because you're not going to have to strain it out in any case. So they're pretty much going to, I would assume they're pretty much going to last me. You can see that they again, halfway down, go to a cylindrical inner cutout shape there. So it doesn't stay that hex, that wide hex all the way down, and then obviously the ratchet sits in, as you can see there, inside so far down. So they've made it so you got the extra thread sticking out, can fit down there, but you wouldn't be able to if you had a 1/4 inch. One thing that did kind of concern me, and I wasn't too impressed about with the Bergen sockets, was that the smaller ones, this one, the smallest one, the 4mm out of the metric, was ever so slightly, I don't know if you can see that there, can we just make that out? It's ever so slightly off centre. It's either ever so slightly off centre, or the chamfer has been put in incorrectly, so it went down deeper, slightly to the one side, and shallower of a chamfer on the other side, which actually seems to be the case, to be honest. So that might give it the illusion of being slightly off centre. Now, because the walls are really thick, because it's a really small size, that's not going to really make too much of a difference. Although you might just be wound up with it, you know in your head that it looks that way. Again, the 4.5 is a little bit the same. It seems a little off centre. The 5 actually seems fine, perfectly positioned. Might just be a luck of the draw for me, and I picked up a macaroni one, but that's the only one concern that I had. Obviously, that's probably not going to cause me any problems. I will be using them that small because I do a lot of RC hobby stuff, and a lot of the screws are those smaller sizes, the 4 and the 4.5 and the 5mm size, for those little nuts and the little bolts that kind of, you know, you kind of fit a propeller onto a threaded shaft on a remote control plane, for example, or the little nuts that you might find that help put together, you know, a nitro powered car, RC car or something like that. So they will be used, but because they're the walls are still that thick, it won't make much of a difference. But if that was on the bigger one, where you'd have one wall a lot thinner than the other walls, then that's how sockets do split, because obviously all the torque coming out onto that one thin wall, and it would break and just completely and utterly fold and come apart on that. So that's the only one concern, or the major down point or con that I have with these Bergen sockets, is the slightly off-center smaller sockets. Would I recommend them for value for money for 1/4 inch? Would I on this evidence probably buy the bigger, the biggest 1/2 inch Bergen sockets? I probably wouldn't, just down to that rounding me myself personally. Are they cheap enough just to try? Yes, certainly. In 1/2 inch, you want to try them, then you could probably try them out. A set just for the garage in 1/2 inch might be worth me trying out, but for my main toolbox, I think I'll just leave it with the 1/4 inch. For a second set, just for in the garage, a quick grab. Maybe I'll try and review the some 3/8 and 1/2 inch sockets of theirs in the future. But for my main personal set that I'll be giving a lot of abuse to, I'll probably pick up some 1/2 inch brittle or some brittle hallmark or something like that. The 1/2 inch stuff and a lot of the bigger 3/8 inch size stuff, you really give some torque and some stick to. So you need, I'd want something that's real proven anyway. But to me personally, these might be proven a company to you, but going on them slightly off-centered, I don't want to buy a pack of 1/2 inch and have a great big sized socket to put a lot of torque into, and then end up having one wall split because of the situation. So alright for 1/4 inch. I think I'd look for some personally for a second set or a spare set. All fair enough, but for a set in the garage, I'll probably take a look, like I said. But I'd stick to 1/4 inch personally.